Hello, welcome back. We're here on episode 2 of Marvels of Audio. To do some quick shoutouts first, I would like to thank everyone for who watched the episode, commented on the episode, and reached out with feedback, support, cheers, jeers, all that. Very grateful for it. Very grateful for it. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps immensely. It's great. Uh, like I said, very grateful to have people, listening, engaging with it. Very grateful to be here. For Justin, allowing me a place and a platform to put my voice out there and such here at Remix Audio Bar, 222 North Guadalupe Street. Very been coming here for quite a bit. Love this place. It's great. There are a few things. There are other things here that happen other than just the podcast. It's not just a coffee shop. There's, of course, Liminal Wednesdays. It's from 6 to 10 p.m. every Wednesday. It's like the deeper side of electronic, very chill. Such. Highly recommend coming to check it out if you're in the Santa Fe area. Another thing is there's a Kickstarter going on. I believe it's by Dark Earth Oracle. Launch party already happened, but there is a Kickstarter. By the time this video is up, hopefully the verification for YouTube should be out and all that. Links should be in the channel and every video. Spotify should hopefully be up for those who just want to listen to the audio and all that. The social media should be up, hopefully. It's a lot of more of an arduous process than I thought to get like confirmations for all that and such. Another shout out I wanted to make is the person that's making our logo. That should be up by the time the episode's here. Zonkcat Creations. Her art account will be in the link in the description as well. Longtime friend of mine from high school. God bless her. Please check her out. Commission her. She makes a great, amazing stuff. And it was so gracious of her to, take time out of her education to make this logo and such. Like to take the commission and all that. I'm very grateful for it. Very, very incredible. But so today's episode, talking about pilgrims. Pilgrims. For those not familiar with the definition of a pilgrim, it's the word for word pilgrim definition is it's a man who goes on a journey for religious purposes or foreign lands. But the most common definition I've heard from just people and such is a man who goes on a journey for holy reasons. And whatever your definition of holy is, perspective and all that. Why do I bring that up? So today we're talking about one song that led to a spark of inspiration to an incredible long-running series and franchise. 90s band, all-female band, I believe, Plumtree. They made a song in 1997. I don't remember what album it's from, but it's called Scott Pilgrim, and it's a very simple song. It just goes about this girl singing that I loved you for 1,000 years and such, and it's supposed to be just a really simple song about the commitment that one makes when they're in love with someone and such. And the song ends with like her talking about how the guy can't stand to see her like this. How love can also make us, in a sense, it makes us a completely different person. Sometimes we can do things we regret because of it, even if our intentions are good and such. And those who are familiar with it, that has led to the inspiration of the series Scott Pilgrim by Brian O'Malley. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering that name. Graphic novel series. I believe it's 6-7 issues running. Publication date, Oni Press. In 2004. I don't remember the exact month, forgive me. But it follows the adventures of Scott Pilgrim, the character, and he falls in love with this girl by the name of Ramona Flowers. It's his dream girl, essentially. And it's very simple from the get-go. Falls in love with this girl, Ramona Flowers, and she says, yeah, you're going to have to fight my 7 evil exes. Fights the 7 evil exes to get together. But that's not really, like, the main thing of it. I'm from the movie part of the fan base. There's the book, there's the game, there's the movie with Michael Cera, and then there's the animated series, Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I'm from the movie circle. I was first introduced to the franchise through the movie, and then I read the graphic novels after finding out that they existed. I thought it was just a movie and such. But it was my first introduction to probably my favorite trope in any form of writing, which is the flawed protagonist. Quick summary is, your protagonist, you follow the perspective of his story, what he's trying to achieve. But the idea is that the character's combating something that usually makes, it's more of an internal battle against the antagonist, where he's the one in the wrong, or not such a good person, and something along those lines. And the story more follows along while he's achieving what he's setting out to do on his journey, he grows as a person. Scott Pilgrim is an awful person. It's stated from the very first panel of the graphic novel. He plays with women's hearts. He cares not a lot for his friends. Incredibly rude, brash, and just kind of shrugs it off as just like, yeah, that's the kind of guy I am. He's just not a good person. And the story just follows him trying to become a better person as he goes into these fights, spends time with Ramona Flowers, and spends some time reflecting on the kind of person he is. Because through all that, he's seeing all these different exes that have dated, fallen for Ramona and such. And the Scott Pilgrim Takes Off goes much more in depth into this. I would highly recommend watching it. It's on Netflix if you have that subscription. But he kind of comes to learn that, wow, this person I'm trying to date is also pretty awful, along with all these other exes. But it's more like he kind of realizes all these exes are not evil, but they're lashing out because they were hurt, they were heartbroken, and the way that it was handled just really stung. Like, it stayed within the back of their heads the entire time. They never really forgot about it, you know? And it kind of, in some of the situations, it propagated unhealthy behaviors, habits, and all that. So that's the main gist of Scott Pilgrim, the series with Scott Pilgrim, the character. What does that tie into? I feel like I really, really like Scott Pilgrim. I don't at all relate to the character, or any of the characters, really. It's pretty obvious. You know, no one's going to read a character about, wow, this is an awful person. I'm just like him. But I can totally understand the idea of, you know, being flawed, you know? And for whoever you are, for whatever it is, whatever thoughts you have, you know, there's this crazy idea of everything has to be perfect. Sometimes for some people it's your physical appearance. Oh, I wish I was taller, or I wish I was slimmer, or I wish my hair looked at a certain way, or I wish my face was structured in a certain way, or whatever it is. Sometimes it's emotional, you know, it's like, I don't want to have these thoughts, I don't want to feel bad all the time, I don't want to be sick, or whatever it is. It could be a plethora of reasons, whether it's our habits, our work life, daily routines, our physicality, how we look, everything. It's unavoidable. It's unavoidable. It's, you know, it's hard. It's hard. This is like something of course, I'm human after all. I've struggled with this for a long time. I used to have such low amounts of self esteem or whatever. And, everyone has different forms of coping. Sometimes they'll put on a mask, sometimes they'll lash out against the world and such. Sometimes these flaws we think about ourselves is something we've never thought of or never would have, popped into our head until we've, met the right people, made some friends, acquaintances, coworkers, lovers, partners, wife, husband. You know, something could happen. They could leave, disappear, say something that like really strikes a nerve, and it'll just get you thinking, you know? And this falls into a plethora of things of anxiety, uh, self love, and such. There's lots of different approaches to dealing with all this. Oh, bonked my hat on that. My bad. But I think what's important to realize is what are these flaws that we have? How would I phrase this? What's a flaw that, is a flaw and it's just something that's part of you, you know? If you're a bit confused on that, let me elaborate. For the longest time, I'm a very loud person, believe it or not. If you're one of my friends watching this, you know I'm a loud person. For the longest time, I'd always get so embarrassed when someone would tell me to be quiet, or tell me to shut up, or you're being too loud. It'd make me super embarrassed. It was something I never liked about myself at all. But over time, growing up, I came to accept the fact that it's not really a flaw. It's matters just what's in your head, how you look at it, how you think about it, you know? It was a way for me to animate myself, express myself. It was a little quirky thing about me. Some of y'all might hate that phrase. Sorry. But it's a feature of me. It's part of who I am. Yeah, I'm loud. I'm sorry if I'm loud. Sucks that I'm loud. But that's who I am. Now, of course, you can't just use the power of positive thinking and just be like, oh, it's a matter how you look at it. Because I've seen a lot of people fall into this trap of, positive thinking, or just having, trying to find the silver linings and all this. It's like, it can still be bad for you. It could be something that you need to fix. Say, like, for a good example is, what if you eat a lot of chocolate? Chocolate's great. Chocolate's sweet. It's delicious. Everyone loves chocolate. But if you're eating it every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, in between, it's hurting your teeth. Even if you're brushing and flossing twice a day, mouthwash, all that, it's going to damage your teeth. It's going to hurt your smile. It's going to hurt you. And you can't just say, oh, chocolate makes me, feel happy. It helps relax me. It's just a nice little treat. It's a little reward for myself. Yeah, I get that. But if it's getting to a point where it's hurting you, or it's hurting others, or it's acting as an obstacle of what you want to do and such, it can be quite damaging. I believe that at that point, if it falls within any of those jurisdictions, that's something that needs to be fixed, But like I said, everything in moderation, everything with flaws, perspective, and such, it's just really important to, keep that in your head, I think a great song that kind of really helped me with this outlook was it's called Everybody Wears Sunscreen for Free. And the whole idea of this song is just, it's a stream of consciousness. It was recommended to me by a friend. I don't remember the artist. I've looked at it. There are like four different versions of it from people who've all worked together from those four different songs on each song together. But it's a very nice song because it's just giving little bits and bobs of advice throughout the 3-4 minute track and such of just whenever you look in the mirror, just remember you're not that fat. If you keep dyeing your hair so much, just be careful with what you dye it with and such. Don't look at magazines because you're always going to compare yourself. That's another thing that what I've always found it funny when people my people or friends or whatever would talk to me about like I'm 4 years out of high school, 4 pushing 5 years, and I try to keep in contact with some of my high school friends. Check their socials or whatever. Sometimes I'll reach out and be like, hey, just wanted to check in or whatever. But whenever I hear that with my friends talk about, they always say just like, oh, this guy's life is so great, or he's already married, or he's got such a great business now. Oh, I can't believe it. He's so successful, and he's barely out of high school. And it's good to acknowledge people's accomplishments and be happy for them. They're pursuing what they like, but I always hear the inevitable, sadness that follows that of I wish I had something like that, or I wish I could be doing that. And it just always boggles me, and it probably will keep boggling me until I get to that answer, and I'll still be confused. But I don't understand why people make it a comparison, make it a race, because you're putting yourself in a losing race. Life is a race, but you're the only one running it. You're going to be a winner and a loser. That's the ups and downs. You're going to trip. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. You'll get back up. I could toss analogies and all that all day, but I think it's important that take it at your own pace. If you got things you don't like about yourself right now, or things that you're still struggling to achieve, whether it's, I want to be successful in business, I want to make a lot of money, I want to find a partner, I want to become famous, I want to be able to be a good person, help people, or whatever it is, step by step. That's what we're trying to do with this show here. The number one thing has always been we're taking this step by step with each episode, not trying to go all big and all out, revolutionize something. I think it's much better to take it slow and such. It's just really interesting. I want to talk more about the movie, the Scott Pilgrim movie, because I feel like a lot of interesting things that highlights in that movie is especially the usage of the soundtrack. What I mean by that, it's how would I say? It's quite faithful to Brian O'Malley's graphic novel. With the soundtrack uses a lot of his favorite songs, a lot of artist songs. The original part of it is very. What I should preface this by, in the series, Scott Pilgrim's in a band, a garage band, and there are original songs from the movie made by that band. You can see them on Spotify. They have their own Spotify page, and it's exactly the exact vibe I would get from like a really grungy, gritty garage band. Indefatigable, Garbage Truck, really, really great pieces. And that's from a movie. That's not even like the focus point. It's there. It's complementing. It's raising the movie itself. but it's not the focus, not the focal point of all of it, you know. In so there's a lot of differences from the movie and the comic and such. The main thing being the ending, the ending. So there's negative Scott, evil Scott at the end, which is a very obvious analogy of like this. It's Scott confronting the flaws within him and such, and all that. It's a literal representation of it. In the movie, in the graphic novel, they fight, they duke it out, and such. But what I like in the movie is they're setting it up that final scene for one last like epic fight after he saves the girl, gets the girl, and all that. He has to fight his greatest enemy himself, and then it just skips to outside the area. They both walk out, and they're just like they're chatting. They're all chummy. They're having a coffee, and obviously, if you wanna downplay it, it's because they were already pressured for time and budget. That's why they did it. I don't care about that though. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Cause it's the idea of like why fight with yourself? Why get into these arguments in your head with yourself? Yeah, you need to confront who you are and the things that are wrong with you, the things that you need to fix. But that's you. That's you at the end of the day. Don't be so mean to yourself. It's your body. It's your mind. You have to live with it for the rest of your life. So I feel like the very least you can do is, treat it well. Treat it well. You know. That's the whole idea with Scott Pilgrim. He's not immediately a better person. He's still, you know, figuring stuff out. And that's the same thing at the end of the movie where it's really quick, with him just making up with himself and with his past exes too and such. Like for the movie, it was mainly focused on Scott Pilgrim and him fixing himself. With Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, the animated series, it's more focused on Ramona. And sorry, a bit under the weather. I got the sniffles. Took some allergy meds and all that. Hasn't been helping. But in the animated show, spoilers are right here. Granted, this is from the first episode, but I'm gonna go into it. So if you don't want to hear it, go watch it right now, then come back to this. Bookmark it. But in the movie, it's more focused on Ramona instead. It's Ramona pursuing Scott instead. It's a role reversal. So instead of Ramona trying to fight her exes and stuff, Scott just disappears as soon as he jumps into her life. They really hit it off and stuff, and she really likes this guy. But through all that, she needs to figure out who kidnapped him. So it goes on this little journey of her interrogating all of her exes, all 7 of them, and be like, hey, do you know where this guy is? And of course, it's the inevitable, just like, I don't want to talk to you. You left me, you hurt me, and you never did right by it, And it's sweet, I feel like that's another thing you have to do if you want to grow as a person. Sometimes it's not just you that's involved. Sometimes you have to talk to another person, Whether it's someone you've hurt, whether it's someone who can help you and such, there's a lot of power in, if you've done something wrong, admitting to it and confronting it, such as confronting yourself in a sense, can really help a lot with that, It can bring closure. It can feel like you're allowed to, live life, move forward again, It's incredibly freeing, It does so much for you. And at the end of the day, I don't think there are bad apples. I just think there are good people who do bad things. Everyone messes up, I think what's important, though, is you got to, own up to it. Because, the whole thing of failing, doing something bad, of course, it makes us feel awful. It makes us feel like a bad person. It makes us feel incapable. It makes us feel stupid. No one wants to wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm such a dummy. I'm such a Nimrod. But, you know, sometimes we are. Sometimes we just mess up. But I think what matters is you did something and how you react to that. Action with reaction. It's how you move forward from it and how you, deal with it. That really matters. And of course, it comes down to perspective and all that, whether how you handle it, whatever the situation is, whatever's healthiest for you. That's really important, you know? I'm not going to be here life coaching you or whatever on how you should do whatever, you know? You could hear what I say and just, whatever. I'm just here to talk about comics and music. But it's very interesting by like the end of this series. There's this back and forth between Ramona. This is the animated series I'm still talking about. The back and forth with Ramona and Scott, where she goes through all this like digging up the past, making amends and stuff, while Scott is kidnapped by his future self and such, and he kind of sees that he does win the girl at the end and all that, and he becomes an awful person because of it. It's like 30 years into the future, they get married and it just doesn't work out, you know? They don't like get into a divorce. It's just like, let's just take a break. And when someone you care about so much says something like that, you're always gonna, make it way more on your head than it really means. That's just how it is. So he just goes into isolation, just completely jumps the gun, goes to the conclusion of like, oh, it's over. It's never gonna happen. Never wants to talk to me again, and all that. And he just goes crazy over it to the point where kidnaps his past self to prevent it from ever happening. The whole idea of like, I just wish this never happened in the first place because this is so unbearable and such. You know, uh, I'm a big nerd for the whole time travel stuff and all that. Whether it's going forward or backwards, Back to the Future, great stuff, great stuff. I'm a big fan of all that. But back to the song. Everybody wears sunscreen for free. I like when I saw that scene where he's explaining his plan. It's just like, I went back in time to kidnap you, to erase the future, because I don't want to have to live through this. The pain was too unbearable. The one line from that song appeared in my head, where it's don't ever worry about what happens, because 50% of it is what you choose to do, and the other 50% of it is chance. We all freak out about, wanting control over certain things in our life, how much money we make, how people react to us, or something as simple as like, you try to grab like a cup of water, you stumble, you slip butterfingers, and you drop it and it shatters on the floor, and you hate it. It sucks. You broke something, That's just chance. You made the choice to grab water, and by chance, it fell. You didn't throw the water on the floor. Just like how Scott Pilgrim, he made the choice to go after Ramona Flowers. They got married, and they were happy for most of it. And by chance, things just didn't work out. But then he made the choice to just go off the deep end. Not say a hello or reach out again after a while. Ran away. It's really funny because it follows the exact plot line of the movie. It's based off the movie, where he confronted himself at the end. Be like, I'm a pretty bad person and all that, but later down the line, things change, and he once again sees the flaws in him. He doesn't like it, and again he runs away and becomes a pretty bad person because of it, and hurts a lot of people he cares for. for it. There are many ways you can approach uh, all this. Health is wellness at the end of the day. It's the greatest form of wealth. But I think the only thing you should always avoid is running away. You know, it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a pilgrimage, you know? That's the whole idea with the song Scott Pilgrim by Plumtree. It's that you can love a person a lot. You could be obsessed with them. They could be your entire world to the point where it's almost holy for you, you know? But it's going to be hard. It's going to be long. There's going to be bumps in the road. You know, it's not easy. And I find it funny that with all these different versions, the movie, the comic, the show, the song, it all follows this one theme of journey. You know, there's a lot of emphasis put on Scott Pilgrim's journey of when he first meets Ramona. Sorry. A little gassy. Woo. Delicious. Would have been real ironic if I dropped that. But it's a huge focus on the journey, as I was saying. In the movie, Ramona comes to him as like a fever dream and such. There's a whole joke there, but watch the movie for it. But he literally has a dream about her, this girl he's never met, and he's like, this is my dream girl. This is the one for me. This is a vision from God, something holy. Same thing like that in the comic. Comes to him in a dream, opens the door, and he sees this girl, his dreams, is suddenly at his footsteps, like given grace to pursue it and such. It's the same thing with Ramona Flowers. You know, I think it's really interesting what the show did to take a perspective on that, of just here's this random dude that just appears into my life, and he doesn't seem as crazy, weird, or evil as my 7 evil exes. I think it's quite funny because but by the time she finds Scott Pilgrim, she's already, you know, made amends with everyone, and it's just like, sorry I did all that, and realizes just like, wow, I can't believe I did all that. I don't want to do that again, and such. It's kind of interesting with the turn it takes when she finally finds Scott again, and sees the future too, of, you know, what he'll become from it, and and then she's like, you know, thinking in her head, is like, is this really the guy I want to like spend the rest of my life with, you know? And then I absolutely love what he says next. Was he looks her in the eyes and says, "Do you think I want to become that?" It's really interesting, you know, because like we always have an image. Like if you've ever been in any interview, there's that whole where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 20 years? I that's such a dumb question, because I literally don't know where I'm gonna be tomorrow. Like there's just always just so much stuff happening. Like I could go into work the next day, and there could be literally anything that happened. I could go to a bar I frequent or whatever, and there could be a new face there bartending, and that guy, whoever's working there, could be my next best friend for the rest of my life. It's such a mystery and such. You just don't know. And that's the thing, again, with choice and chance. You know? You just don't know. Like, I can't put it any... I had a way... I was trying to think of a way all week of just trying how to word that. I can't. That's just how it is, you know? Yeah. But, this is just a random thought I had. But, this soundtrack for the movie, I highly recommend you listen to it. As I was saying earlier, it's, you know, of course, super faithful to the artists and the creator. It has a lot of stuff from Plumtree, original song that's like really captures the vibe of what Scott's band is. Another thing is, from that is there's some Rolling Stones songs. That movie was actually my first introduction to the Rolling Stones. I saw it, I think I was in high school, ninth grade when I first saw it. And there was this one song called Under My Thumb by the Rolling Stones. I absolutely loved it. I just loved the sound of it. It was just, it was a nice tune, you know? And through that, I just found my way into the world of rock and roll. Like, even the journal, why I write all the scripts, episode ideas, and stuff for the podcast. This hat's a bit evil, not too kind. It's the Hackney Diamonds tour, 2024. I saw them live in Denver, at Peak Stadium and all that. Hands down, the best concert I ever had. My mom, you know, she asked me if I wanted to go see the Stones. She's a huge fan of the Stones, not as much as the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's for another episode, though. But just wanted to throw that in real quick. A little fun fact about me and such. So, what are my thoughts on Scott Pilgrim as a whole, as a franchise, as a song, series, game, and all that? The game. Uh, before I give my closing thoughts on that, if you're wondering why I haven't brought up the game at all, it's just literally a copy paste to the graphic novel. It's a fun game. It's really quick. It's just a class. Like if you've ever played Fatal Fury or stuff like that, it's a beat 'em up. You know, fight a bunch of dudes, go to the next level. It's a fun game though. Highly recommend it. The soundtrack's really cute. But now that we've touched base with everything, where do we come? Where do we wrap it up and all that? Well, that's the thing. There is no conclusion. Uh, like I said, it's really how you approach. It's your perspective in all this. This is all with like the idea of open discussion. I'm just throwing things out there. You know, I'm not here trying to solve anything or whatever. I'm just, whatever pops into my head, I talk about, and it's just nice to like have an open place. I highly recommend this too. If you're in the shower or brushing your teeth or whatever, talk to yourself. You'd be surprised with what you can find out, what you can get working inside your head if you just talk out loud to yourself. Think about it. It helps. It's really nice. It's great. It really gets the gears in your brain turning. But as I was saying, the only thing I can leave you off with is no matter what it is, how scary it is, or what you're dealing with, the bare minimum I ask is you just don't run away from it, because you're gonna regret it. It's not going for it or trying to fix it or run away from it. It's a 1-to-1 chance that you're gonna hate it, rather than the one in however much of a chance it is you try to fix it. And you might fail. It might take a few more tries, but at least you tried. That's really the important part. But yeah, before I close off everything, of course, I want to recommend an album that's really befitting to what I've all talked about. It's Narcissist Cookbook's most recent album. I say recent. It's been out for about 2 years now. It's called This Is How We Get Better. It's his most recent album. Some of his best music, in my opinion, is part of that album. Especially The Simplest Words. I highly recommend listening to that. You don't have to listen to the song in any order, the album in any order, but I think it's much better to take it from beginning to end, narratively. If you're just listening it for the songs individually, then just go for it. Approach it in however you want. And like I said, hopefully, by the time this episode is up, we should have the socials, everyone's links, and all that. Spotify should be up. And yeah, that's my hopes for it. Uh, for anyone curious on what the next episode is, uh, not set in stone, but you can wholeheartedly expect it to either be a something about the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or one of my favorite albums ever, What We Can Do Better, and comparing that to the character of DC that everyone knows, the Joker. And a few more things to leave off on before we close out. I've said that like 3 times already. I'm just way too excited. I love being here. I love sitting in this chair. But another thing is we open these recordings to the public. Right as soon as the store opens, 10 a.m. I'm here sitting in the chair. We're doing the finishing touches. So if you want to listen to these episodes live, these are out a week before the episode actually drops. So this episode I'm recording right now, it should be out the next Friday from today. And so by the time this episode drops, we're already recording the next one. So come by Remix, get a coffee, listen to it live. I linger a bit just to have like little Q&As if people want to talk about the episode or whatever and such like that. I did get a lot of people asking if we'll ever have guest stars. Like 1 or 2 episodes I would like to get, but that's not really on my mind. That's not really my main focus. It is something I think would be interesting to have and stuff. But as I've said earlier, it's step by step. We're still figuring it out. If we get to a point where like we're comfortable, or this is something that actually we want another person to sit here, as you could see, very tight. Just imagine this water here is a person. It's very tight. But as far as I know, it's something I'm interested, but not something I'm trying to work around or wanting. But yeah, with all that, comments, messages, Instagram, TikTok, all that should be up by the time the episode's posted. If you want to send a DM, just being like, "Hey, great episode" or whatever, I read it all. I really appreciate it. If you're in the Santa Fe area and you see me and you're like, "Oh, I saw your episode" or whatever, it means the world to me. Trust me, I don't bite. I love it. Getting feedback, critiques, cheers and jeers, and all that. But yeah, that's it for the episode. Episode 2, Marvels of Audio. And thank you for listening, watching, consuming, and all that. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy.